thank everyone for joining us today as we begin the 100-day countdown to the opening of our new hospital. We are all so proud of how far we've come from the devastation of March 1st of 2007. Things are moving like, I used probably a poor analogy yesterday, but we're like a race car going around, or NASCAR racer. We're going so fast right now to reach the end of this journey that we've been on in the opening of our new hospital. Before I introduce Mr. Joel Wernick, Phoebe Putney's president and CEO, I'd like to recognize a couple of people, several people who are very important to what we've done, and I'd just like you to just raise your hands. Brian Smith from Brassfield and Gorey. Brian is the superintendent of the entire construction project. Roman Buckner of KMLK. Roman is our construction management manager leader. And you don't all have to raise, well, yes, all of the managers, all of our managers stand up. Everyone who's here who's a manager, stand up. You all, I want to thank you for all of the work you've done, not only in the design of the new hospital that you've worked on for over 2 years, but on the implementation, on keeping things moving here as we move forward and at the temporary hospital at the same time. You've all done a wonderful job. Thank you. As I said, we're on a racetrack. You know, our opening day is December 17th, official opening day. And as you might imagine, the logistics are extraordinary of what we're doing, planning things down to the minute of when one operating room won't be used anymore, when one emergency room won't be used anymore. But it's also great fun. We're really, really excited about where we are. Now, we have a very short program, and then we'll try to answer any questions that any of you might have. I'd like to call on Mr. Wernick.
Thank you, Keith. Mr. Mayor, good to see you. Glad to have you here. We'll start off by saying the local governmental officials here have been incredible to work with. The support that we've got from the city and the county have been extraordinary, and I just want to always recognize you for the hard work that y'all have done. Most of y'all probably remember exactly where you were the night of the tornado. I mean, everybody does. I was driving back from Atlanta because they had closed the flights down to Albany, and so I rented a car and started driving back and was actually coming through Richland just after the tornado had come through there, not knowing that anything had happened in Americus. And then I got a call from the emergency room in Albany saying what had happened. But I had to detour through Richland because the highway out there was closed because they had trees and power lines down and what have you, and didn't really know exactly what was going on. As I learned later, of course, your community and your hospital were devastated by the weather system that moved through there. But what also happened that evening, of course, was neighbors started working together, neighbors here in this community helping each other, and also us as a neighbor hospital who's always had a great relationship with this community and your local hospital to start reacting. Now, Doug Patton, who's our chief medical officer, and I think he's got a little bit of Indiana Jones or something in him, you know, came up here and pickup truck climbing over trees and what have you, trying to see what was going on. But before long, we were able to piece our two systems together to start responding to those needs that couldn't be taken care of right here on site. We were proud to be part of the obstetrical service, which really is the Sumter obstetrical service, was at Phoebe Putney for over a year as you were getting your temporary facility put back together. So there are a lot of things that a lot of you folks nodding your head remember how it all kind of pieced together. I was telling my 14-year-old daughter as I was taking her to school this morning, and she said, I told her I was coming up here for this, and she said, well, how is it that Phoebe Putney came to be up in Americus? And I said, well, they asked us. And she said, well, how did they ask you? And I said, well, the hospital decided they wanted to have a partner, a capital partner that could help build upon what they'd done over the years. And there were a number of organizations that were invited, and ultimately they selected Phoebe Putney and asked us to become their partner. Certainly that was a smile for us that day, because it was a coming together of what were good neighbors into actually the joining of two organizations into the same family. and the greater Phoebe family now is indeed part of the Americas community and very much part of the Sumter hospital legacy. It was interesting to see the Phoebe Sumter sign up on the side of the wall, and I know that when the devastation of the tornado, when people started taking stock, you wondered what would the future of healthcare be here in this community. Would the hospital be rebuilt? If it was rebuilt, how would it be rebuilt? Would it be equal to or better than what was there before? Would we be able to keep doctors? Would we be able to recruit doctors in the future? A lot of big questions that were out there, and they're appropriate questions. And part of what we pledged to the community and certainly to the board and the hospital authority is that we would set out to create a vision that was shared with this community, with the people who had given a good bit of their life to serving the healthcare needs, and that was to build what we hoped would be the finest, smaller community hospital in the United States. Now, Ed Willis back there, our head of security at Phoebe Putney, was telling me out in front, he says, you know, it doesn't look like a hospital here, it looks like a little town. And indeed, we've set it up to really appear to have more of a village, city center approach to try to take away some of the stress that oftentimes comes with just the healthcare experience, which people don't buy healthcare like they buy bread and eggs. It happens every so often. Sometimes, hopefully not very often at all. Sometimes people get born in a hospital and they don't go into a hospital again the rest of their life until maybe they might die. So it's not something that's frequently purchased. On the other hand, we wanted this to also be something that could be an economic incubator for your community. That when people came here and said, I'm thinking about relocating my business or expanding my business, that they would know that healthcare is right here, and not only is it right here, it's something that everybody's very proud of, and that the community says that when Grandma Jones comes and visits at Christmas time from Hey Hira, they say, let's go see the new hospital. I want to show off our local hospital. And the thing that I also find exciting is not only does it look great during the day, but it glows at night. And it just kind of has that beacon of hope that any hospital should have, especially at night when oftentimes things that go bump happen and you're looking for some help. Like Keith, I compliment all the leadership here. We kind of threw you a few boomerangs. You'd already gone a long way down the road of looking to design and rebuild on the existing site. And when we started thinking about the future, we were troubled by the existing site. Not that it had not served the community well, but it was going to be very difficult to rebuild and have the kind of growth and expansion that we hope both the community and the hospital will experience. And on that postage stamp sized site, it just really did not have the opportunity to imagine the growth. Interesting, when we stuck our shovels in the ground, it seems like this corner over here just blossomed with all kind of involvement, and we think, judged upon the county commissioner from this district, she thinks that the world now, of course, is going to grow out of her district right here on this part of the county, and God bless her for thinking so. Mr. Lefevre's over here, our chairman, would tell you that, well, you may not know it, the intersection of 280 and Highway 19 may become one of the busiest intersections in South Georgia because of the inland port over the next 30 years, and that probably one of the biggest road projects that might occur, you know, in the next 20 or 30 years if Saxby Chambliss gets some dollars for the from the Congress, that 280 may be 4-laned all the way from the interstate to the Alabama line. So these are things that are reality. They take vision, but they also take a whole lot of work. So we're excited that you're here today. Keith told you we're about 100 days away. This press conference in part is to talk a little bit about where we're going, but also to make sure that you know that you need to start telling your friends and folks that we're going to have a big party. The sheriff and I agreed that we're going to have a barbecue here when it came time to have a ribbon cutting, and he knew some people that could cook some barbecue, and we said that's fine with us. But with that, I will hush and let Keith come up and introduce Brad.